Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to church. My name is Mike Backman. I am the service coordinator this morning. We want to thank Diane for her beautiful prelude music and thank all of you for being here on this Mother's Day 2024. Our minister, the Reverend Dr. Leon Dunkley, is away this week. Our reflection this morning will be by Jarret Adams. His bio is in the order of service. You can read that. In 2020, Jarret and his wife Heather, is Heather here? Oh, there's Heather. Hello, I didn't get to meet you before. They were living in the DC area, but because of COVID, Jarret said that he was now able to do his work in DC remotely. And he and Heather had been thinking about taking the plunge and running a B&B. And they found the Village Inn here in Woodstock and have owned it since 2020 and have become members of the Woodstock community. So welcome to Jarret and to Heather, both. There are many things going on here at North Chapel. I invite you to read the announcements in the order of service, including a chamber music series this afternoon here at 2 p.m. in the sanctuary. So I am going to turn off my cell phone and invite you to do the same so we don't have any interruptions during the service. If you are a visitor, I invite you to sign our guest book at the back of the sanctuary. And for everyone, after the service, we have coffee hour in the room directly underneath this room. You can access it through stairs or a lift out this back door, or in the back of the sanctuary there's another stairwell that goes down to it. Childcare is provided today by Tatum, and we will be singing the children to their time out in just a bit. I think that's it. So I will invite you to rise as you are able to join in singing our opening. Following my opening words this morning, I will ring the chime and invite you into a time of silent meditation. So welcome. Happy Mother's Day. For those of us who have lost our moms, this day can be a bit odd. I know I've been thinking a lot about my mom and what has become of her. Does my mom still exist as a single conscious identity, aware of who she is, aware of who she was? Does she have memories of being my mom? And if so, is she conscious of me now? Does she know what's happening in my life? a sort of guardian angel, so to speak. Does she hear me when I call out to her? And those times that I feel her presence, almost sense her arms wrapped around me, is she really there? Or is it my longing for her, my memory of her that I am connecting with? Perhaps she has moved on in a sort of reincarnated sense to become a new identity. Or maybe the consciousness that was my mom is simply absorbed into the mass of all souls that have gone before, but has lost its single, unique awareness. Or maybe the consciousness that was my mom simply ceases to exist. Frankly, I just don't know. But for whatever it's worth, happy Mama someday, Mama. I love you, and I remember you, especially on this day.
Good morning. So, as Mike said, my name is Jarret Adams, and my wife and I own the Village Inn of Woodstock. As we often say, it's the pink one next to the grocery store. You can't miss it. So we moved up here to Woodstock in 2020 during the pandemic. Buying the Village Inn fulfilled a long-time dream of ours to own a bed and breakfast, and it has been an exhausting, enjoyable, and deeply fulfilling experience. We're so fortunate to do what we do and live here in this beautiful place, filled with beautiful scenery and so much to enjoy, like hiking, biking, skiing, fishing, and so much more. But all of this is at risk because of climate change. We can see it happening all around us. Each year, the snow at the resorts is less consistent. It arrives later, leaves sooner. Last summer, as you recall, we experienced unprecedented rainfall and widespread flooding. After a while, we started calling it the summer that wasn't. And these strange weather patterns persisted into fall, which gave us a muted foliage and left us all wondering what would happen this year. And again, another uneven year of snowfall. All of this is cause for concern, especially for us as innkeepers. This past year has made it clear that even here in beautiful Vermont, we can't escape climate change. And we are in a better position than most. Many coastal places will soon be below sea level. Changing weather is hurting agriculture. Some places will become uninhabitable, triggering mass migration and perhaps even global unrest. As you heard recently from Bill McKibben, climate change is a threat to our very planet. Addressing climate change is going to take everything we've got, and that's why I'm such a big supporter of nuclear energy. And well, you might be thinking about now, what's all this got to do with Mother's Day? Well, hang in there. So anyway, I help out quite a bit at the inn. But I'm not lucky enough to be a full-time innkeeper. That's Heather's gig. As Heather would say, I still have a day job. I run a public relations firm called Full On Communications that focuses mostly on nuclear energy. We help companies and others communicate better. We do websites, social media, advertising, all the normal things that PR firms do. But we do still do other stuff. For example, last year we did Lucy McKenzie's website. But mostly I focus on nuclear. Part of the reason is because this is my area of expertise. The other part is because I believe it can make a difference. Starting my career as a journalist, I worked for a little newspaper, not unlike the Vermont Standard. And soon I became a business reporter and moved on to magazines that covered industries like chemicals, aerospace, and eventually to energy. By 2002, I had switched to communications focused on nuclear. At the time, it was just a job. I needed a steady gig, and Heather was pregnant with our first child. I thought I might work there a few years and move on to something else, but sometimes the universe has a way of putting you where you need to be. Over the past 20 years, we've seen the effects of climate change become more prevalent, more severe, and harder to ignore. Working in nuclear, I learned what a powerful tool it could be for addressing climate change, but it was, and is, widely misunderstood. So helping people understand how it could help to overcome preconceptions is the best way I know how to make a difference, a way to help preserve the planet for future generations. A turning point came for me in 2015. At that time, I was out of the nuclear business and working in the United Arab Emirates for a government-owned renewable energy company. I was leading an international team hired to highlight all that they were doing to try to transition the country from fossil fuels to renewables. From the outside, it seemed like a noble effort. But from the inside, it was completely dysfunctional, and I was miserable, and so I quit. As I sat in Abu Dhabi trying to figure out what to do next, I came across an editorial by James Hansen and 3 other climate scientists. Dr. Hansen is considered the world's foremost expert on climate change. He was the first person to testify before Congress about the danger of climate change. And the organizer of that hearing was a young congressman from Tennessee named Al Gore. The article by Hansen and his colleagues appeared during the annual UN climate conference held that year in Paris. The title couldn't have been any clearer. Nuclear power paves the only path forward on climate change. They wrote, nuclear will make the difference between the world missing crucial climate targets or achieving them. We're hopeful in the knowledge that, together with renewables, nuclear can help bridge the emissions gap that bedevils the Paris climate negotiations. The future of our planet and our descendants depends on basing decisions on facts and letting go of long-held biases when it comes to nuclear power. I could not get this article out of my head, and it was about then that I launched full on. The thing is the facts have always been on nuclear energy's side. Nuclear energy is by nature carbon-free. Nuclear does not produce any greenhouse gases. They're reliable, they operate 24/7, and they're not reliant on the weather. Nuclear is a highly concentrated source of energy. That's why it has such a small environmental footprint. You can get a lot of energy in a small area, which leaves more room for nature. And in fact, few people know that nuclear energy is already our largest source of clean energy. But let me be clear, I'm a strong supporter of renewables like wind and solar. The falling prices of wind turbines and solar panels have expanded new capacity in the US and worldwide, and I hope that expansion continues. But wind and solar cannot do it alone. In some parts of the world that have the right geography, like here in Vermont, we can use a combination of hydropower together with other renewables to power most of the grid. Countries like Norway and Iceland have that geography, but much of the world does not. So we need something else. Over the past 20 years, we've spent trillions of dollars trying to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. And about 80% of the world's energy still comes from coal, oil, and gas. Real-world examples of moving away from fossil fuels have involved nuclear energy. And when you leave nuclear out of the equation, the job gets much harder. James Hansen knew this, but here's the thing about nuclear energy, and a lot of other things for that matter. While nuclear has its facts on its side, it's not really always about the facts. Much of what we know about things are based on cultural factors, what you see in the media, social media, hear about from friends. When you think about nuclear, you often think about Godzilla or The Simpsons. And a lot of what you see in movies is nothing like reality. Second, opinions are based on tribal affiliation. People's views are shaped by what they believe people like them think. And it's harder to go against your peer group than it is to color your own perceptions. We do it all the time and don't even know it. Third, there are die-hard opponents of who are against nuclear regardless of the facts. Opposing nuclear is like an article of faith. Yet for all of that, nuclear is not a panacea. There are clearly risks as well as benefits, just as there are with any technology. And there are clearly challenges to overcome. For instance, nuclear plants are expensive to build and take a long time to complete. But like cars or computers or any technology, nuclear has gotten better and more efficient. And now there are small modular plants designed to be more versatile, economical, and faster to build. As people come to grips with the growing threat of climate change, folks are giving nuclear another look. So nuclear can play a large part in solving what could be the most serious threat we face. So today, as we celebrate Mother's Day, we show appreciation for all the mothers and caregivers in our lives. I told you I'd get back to this. And on that subject, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my mother-in-law, Anna Smith, who's visiting us from Newport, Rhode Island. We also celebrate Mother Earth, the mother of us all, and we can show our appreciation by finding ways to live more sustainable lives. This includes choosing energy sources that have a small environmental footprint and leave more space for nature. It also means protecting our climate by using more clean energy. Finding ways to live more sustainably is how we can honor Mother Earth today and every day. And sometimes that means reconsidering what we think we know and how we can best make a difference. That is what my journey has taught me. Thank you so much, and happy Mother's Day.